Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, we're going to discuss the bench press and whether it's okay to remove it from that first position in your daily workout and move it to the second, third, or fourth. Before I get into this topic, if you guys are interested in coaching is what I do for a living. I would love to help. Just check out the link down below. I also have a new workout tracker. This is not an AI workout tracker like you're seeing all the influencers using. This is a workout tracker me and my partner spent 3 years developing. It is a workout tracker for serious lifters, so check it out, link down below. All right, so I have a video from John Meadows, and John is talking about exercise sequencing and whether it is okay to move the bench press away from that first position in your workout. Before I dive into this, I want to flip in the video and let you guys take a look.
The other thing I want to mention is exercise sequencing. This is another thing you don't really learn in books. Another thing I learned the hard way. I used to always come into the gym, I used to bench press first. Even though my form was pretty good, other than the shoulder packing I used to do, injuries all the time. So what I did was I started putting my barbell pressing second, sometimes even third. And I noticed that when I got to the exercise, it felt better. My joints didn't hurt. I got more out of the exercise in terms of growth and development. Now, maybe I was a little bit fatigued from the first exercise, so I couldn't do quite as much weight, but that's just because of fatigue. It's not because you're actually getting weaker. So I would tell you that exercise sequencing is a big deal. You know, I'd rather see someone start with a dumbbell or a machine, then do their barbell work, and then come back to dumbbells or machines and really start pushing those sets past failure.
All right, so in this video, John is talking about exercise sequencing and basically that when he does the bench press, or he found out when he is not doing the bench press first, when he moved it to second or third, that his joints tend to feel better. So I want to talk about this and maybe give some application to you guys, give you guys some things to think about when it comes to moving around your bench press. Overall, I don't think this is a bad idea. But if you are a beginning lifter, I would keep the bench press first. You want to be working on your work capacity. You want to get your work capacity up a little bit. You want to get your strength up a little bit. And you really want all of your energy and your full capacities when you're going into the bench press. So as somebody that is just working on their bench press strength, or maybe in their first couple of years of lifting, I would still keep it first in your program. You're working on that work capacity. You're working on that base strength. You don't want to go into the bench press feeling, wobbly or a little bit fatigued. So for those of you that still don't feel like you're at that place where you have a lot of strong bench press strength, then keep it first. Now, once you're to the point where you feel like you have a reasonably solid degree of bench press strength, now it's time to consider, hey, maybe I could move it around a little bit. It would be okay at this point to move it around a little bit in your programming. Let's discuss how to do that properly. Now, as John said, if you move your bench press away from that first position in your workout, you might feel a little bit fatigued, and that's okay. You might not be able to use the exact same amount of weight, and that is okay. But honestly, as an intermediate lifter, if you do something like the pec deck or the machine chest press or whatever first, there's probably not going to be that much of a big step down. You're pretty much going to be using the same amount of weight. If you do something like a dumbbell bench first, for volume, or 3 sets of 10 or 4 sets of 10 or whatever you're doing, if you do that before the bench press, you might see a little bit of a step down. Understand that's okay. It's okay that you're taking a step down on your bench press raw numbers, because after all, this is bodybuilding. This is muscle building. It doesn't mean you're weak. Your bench press is still going to be pretty, reasonable. So I don't want you guys to panic. But let's talk about application. What I would recommend is, if you want to try doing your bench press second or third to kind of see if it helps with your joints or, reduces some of the punishment, I wouldn't do something like a dumbbell bench before it or dips before it. I would not do those before the bench press because I think they have kind of the same impact. If you're going to go into the gym cold and do dips, or go into the gym cold and do the dumbbell bench as your first exercise, I think you're putting yourself kind of in that same position. So if you want to try something before the bench press to see if it helps with your joints, I would consider like a machine chest press or a plate loaded chest press, or maybe even something like the pec deck. But the pec deck doesn't necessarily have that same movement pattern as the bench press. There's nothing wrong with doing a little bit of a warm-up exercise or opening with a pec deck. But my first choice would be something like a machine chest press or maybe a plate loaded chest press. At the end of the day, don't get trapped in the weeds here. It doesn't really matter. Just use common sense, try this out for yourself and see what works. Another exercise option you could use that's not quite as intense as the dumbbell bench press is the barrel press. With the barrel press, on a dumbbell bench, your grip spacing or your hands are kind of more neutral. They're not forced out like this. On a barrel press is basically kind of a combination of a dumbbell fly and a dumbbell bench press. You're going to grab your two dumbbells and your hands are going to basically face each other. Your arms are not going to be completely flared up, so they're going to be down here a little bit, but you're going to press up like this with your palms facing one another. Pull back down. When you get that slight stretch of the chest at the bottom, then you press back up. So you can see on the barrel press, my elbows aren't tucked. They're right about here. They're below the shoulder level, but you're keeping your palms facing one another. This would be, in my opinion, another great choice to kind of warm up the joints. It's not as heavy as a dumbbell bench, and this would be a good opening exercise. Now, finally, this is kind of a tip by John that is good for those of you doing a lot of chest work in the same exercise. If you're doing like a full body, this probably wouldn't make sense. If you're doing like an upper posterior or a torso limbs type of split, which I teach, this could work because you could open with a lighter chest exercise like a machine chest press or a plate loaded chest press or even a pec deck or a barrel press, and then do your shoulder exercise or whatever else you have going on, and then move on to the bench press. But in this case, if you're doing like an upper type of split and you're going to move the bench press to third or fourth, and you have chest and shoulder work in the mix, you probably want that to be mild as well, like a machine type of exercise, or even like a side lateral raise for your shoulders so you don't overexert yourself and have enough energy when you get to the bench press to feel satisfied. Obviously, the application in something like a body part split is obvious. You're doing a lot of chest work on the same day. And even like a push-pull legs, a push workout where you're doing a lot of push work on the same day. So use common sense with this. Structure your chest and shoulder work if you're doing that sort of thing on the same day in an intelligent way, so when you get to the bench press, you do not feel completely drained. I don't think there is value going into the bench press feeling completely spent or completely drained. After all, it is a compound movement, and if we are doing some sort of a structure to protect the joints or to warm up the joints, you don't want to feel absolutely destroyed or lacking energy when you go into a big compound movement. Now, just as an end note, the obvious question is, if we're doing this for the bench press, could we do this for like the overhead press or the squat or the deadlift as well? I think on the squat, this would work really, really well as long as your energy is fine. I believe it was Steve Reeves that would do his squats last in his program because they're so incredibly taxing. So you could do this for your legs. You could lead off with something a little bit more mild and then do your squat pattern. Just make sure there's no lower back fatigue. Overhead press, you could treat it the same as a bench press and just go in and do something a little bit more mild like a machine overhead or even, like a dumbbell lateral raise. For deadlift, I would not consider this unless you have a really solid understanding of form, a reasonable degree of strength, and you really have a bulletproof lower back. The deadlift can be very draining. It can be a very taxing exercise. It can take a long time to warm up. But if you're doing the deadlift, I would probably do it first. If you go into the gym and do a lot of back work or lat work, usually by the time you get to the deadlift, it's not just fatigue that we have to worry about. If you are deadlifting with any degree of back or lat fatigue, it probably is going to make the weight feel a little bit heavier. The body is going to be a little bit more hesitant to deadlift, trying to protect your spine a little bit. Any degree of upper or lower back fatigue could signal the body to kind of slow down a little bit on the deadlift, make things feel a little bit heavier, and it could feel very, very aggravating when you are attacking this lift. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment down below. Is this something you're going to try? Is this something you have tried? For more information on improving your bench press, please check out this video. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.